It's okay.
And I don't think we have the camera set up in here for you guys to see us.
Well, I can fix mine so you can't see me.
Oh.
He learned a new trick, did he? Right?
I might be a slow learner, but sometimes I get there.
So you were doing that FaceTime live up to see us because it's that
Yeah.
camera?
Right, because that's if that camera connects to technology's computers back there, so unless they set up all these meetings and do it themselves,
Oh, okay.
then
Yeah.
we can't connect to that camera.
But you had one the other day that you were, on the,
That was like a,
because you had it on the top.
yeah, that was like just a little like portable webcam. And
Oh.
it just kind of does the,
Oh, yeah.
we could maybe do that for
Next time.
presenters at least.
Yeah, yeah.
But then doing it that way, we couldn't see them on the screen.
Gotcha.
Better to go set it up from technology and have them
I think so.
to all of the cameras back there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey Renee,
Yeah?
look at this.
Uh-oh.
Jeez. I don't want this, do I? No.
Yeah.
Um,
It's eventually probably, we don't wanna do it right now. So
No,
it's
it's-
just,
I just want.
Somebody's on the phone while meeting,
Oh, okay.
And this is mine.
We sent her how much that's what she did last time. No, we saw her.
Jackie, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. Good.
yeah, okay.
Do you have to put it on a phone?
Extra stuff to always do on. Yeah. Well, hopefully things are be okay back there.
Your microphone's not muted.
I didn't either, so. I think he probably,
Not seeing Jackie talking about her at all.
I think
No,
he was
but
probably
is
pretty.
it your phone that's on it? Whose phone number is that?
I don't know, it just
Yeah.
says 01.
It's somebody's
Did you
called
get
into
that back
this
to them,
meeting and
Will?
They took care of it.
Okay.
It's not Jackie. It's not Jackie's. Hang up on them. Maybe it's technology? Oh, maybe.
maybe then they need to mute their microphone. Or we can mute them.
It did
Yeah.
turn out to be like.
Or did you look at it?
Forwarded it to
Yeah.
Shannon.
I did too.
Oh, you did?
I thought there was a way I could click on them and,
You can mute them if you click on them and click on the
oh, there
microphone.
we go.
Someone muted you. Press star 6 to unmute.
Okay, so that's the phone.
That's us,
Right,
right?
That's us.
Oh, that's just us here, so we don't
That's
want
what I
that
think.
muted. We don't wanna mute. Yeah, cause then they won't do it here. Don't do that.
Okay, got it.
Okay.
Okay, good.
Now it won't let me unmute it.
They can hang up and dial back in again.
Did we take that?
My brother had that for a long
Why
time.
can't I unmute that?
Try clicking on the red one instead next to it. Up. No, where you were
Yeah,
at.
right there. Can't find your microphone.
There you go.
Huh.
What?
It won't let me.
No, it's, the microphone's coming through that phone, so go back where you were at.
So just hang up?
And try pushing where the red hang up thing is. There you go.
Did it do it?
It is.
You know?
Did you all mute your mics on purpose?
I just unmuted mine.
Yeah, well, I see that Renee and Jeff both are got theirs muted. I wondered if
They must be having a secret meeting. Yeah.
We should hang up. Okay.
And they can't see us to know what we're doing.
That's funny.
Can we
Hope they
hang
start
up and
meeting.
join? Can we hang up and
They can't.
dial in?
But they might not be.
They can't hear us.
Yeah, I'm
No.
sure they could probably
I
hear.
muted it thinking it was technology or something, but it was us.
The two of them
And
can
now
hear
it won't
each
let me
other.
Yeah, it won't let me unmute it and it says.
So they can hear
when
each
I
other,
rejoin,
but
it
we
just
can't hear,
automatically
they can't hear us, huh?
That's a indication to their character. It's that
Yeah.
long one, Brian, that we need to get unmuted.
I've had several meetings by
Oh,
Zoom,
It's the phone.
then
line.
everybody,
I really, I haven't done that for a long, long time.
the, whoever is the initiator of the meeting can mute people if they need to. Which is
Yeah.
different.
Just don't mute
Bob
yourself.
and Renee probably do this once.
She might.
Yeah.
Hang up and start it again.
I just got a text from the, we're having technical
Huh?
She's working on it.
You might wanna tell her we can hear her.
Oh, he fell. I remember one time, remember the.
Sounded like Paul and Dave were both there.
Yep. Yeah, yeah, we're here.
I heard Dave, I didn't hear
I
Paul,
was up
but
at Franklin.
Oh, I'm here.
I
Yep.
don't know if they can hear us yet.
Down toward the cemetery, you know, on the highway.
we accidentally muted you both.
You know, that's
We
when.
can hear you.
I got going so fast, my brakes weren't, it wasn't helping. I was finally.
Tell them to hit the mute and close the name.
45 miles an hour, I wasn't even pedaling, it was just, and I hit a rock that was over, and I was driving on the side of the
Or
road.
if they can hear it, they should be able to know that they are.
I didn't wreck.
Renee, do you
But
know
when
the
I
phone
got
number
down,
is to
my-
call
my
back in?
dim were
That's what I was
on.
looking at just now.
Oh, yeah, it made like a little thing like that on my rim from where I hit that rock there, and I don't know. But the last time I went around Black Friday, we were up Gibson Jack. And it was
Are
with
you
my
ready,
son,
Renee?
And I was on a borrowed bike.
Yeah.
And it was.
One,
No, I mean, I've got it pulled up here, so do you want me to hang up the phone and redial?
yeah.
Okay.
Sean,
It
what
was
do we
rain-
have?
it was raining so hard, like a river coming down the hill, so.
Yeah.
Well, then it's better using the phone.
And then
Dial that number and send it to you when you're done.
So we're going to cut them off and then call back?
Yep.
We did already.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, will you, somebody punch in the number? I've got it right here. It's 1-984-221-1629.
Can they see us?
No, they can't see us. They're Google Meet, we don't have a camera to go to start.
Welcome to Hangouts Meet. Enter the meeting pin followed by the pound key.
Should I tell them to check?
503-830-501.
Jeannie just disconnected.
Oh, crap.
Thank you. You are joining a call with two other people.
Yeah, talk and see if they can. Jim, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
Okay, good.
Can you see it?
I think we lost Jenny, or Jenny now, Jamie now.
Okay, what happens when you click on the email?
Okay, Jim, I just told Jamie to log back into the same meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, we still can't see you guys.
Click on the meeting ID link.
I think the camera that we have
Okay, what happens
is
when you
going
do
to the Facebook Live stream.
Uh-huh.
Are you back, Janie? Can you hear us?
I can hear you.
How about
Can't
that?
see you.
Right, so the camera that we have working is for the Facebook live stream. So we'll set it up a little bit differently for the next meeting. We'll have technology set it up and then you should be able to see us and hear us.
Okay,
Okay,
but I can hear you.
excellent. So I think Jackie's
Tell them that we can see them so that they.
Yeah, we can see you
Maybe you just dive
very
in.
well. And Jackie's trying to get on,
Yeah.
but, she may have to just call
What?
it.
Okay, yep, I will. All right, I'll send it right now, okay? All right, bye.
She says the link and the phone number aren't working for first.
Yeah, but we've been going to the rugby field, ISU, social distancing. And the coffee went to beer. But, you know, just get out and talk, that's all. And it works. Just get out of the house. Yeah, I'm going crazy. Read everything and can't go to the library and don't want to spend a lot of money buying books.
Yeah.
So,
Jim,
Yeah,
do you have your agenda in front of you or just the pictures?
no, I got my agenda, now I mean, I have to click on it.
I don't know how to do that.
Okay, just open up a new tab.
At the top?
it's really neat when you say, I want to read this book.
Your picture will go away, but you'll still be able to hear.
A second later, you got it.
Okay.
And then
But
just
there's
go to
nothing
your,
gratifying about holding
yeah.
that thing.
school board
You sent her the link?
email.
I gotta
No, open
have
up
a
your,
book.
go to homepage,
And
go to
I
your,
have
like your,
really in a
go to your
hardbound
document.
book.
I mean, you
Makes you feel better.
read your, agenda.
Just like a newspaper.
Okay,
Got
here
a
we are.
You should
newspaper.
be able to pull it up on that second
it's
screen, and then you can go
Oh,
back and
online.
forth on your, yeah.
I don't know. Okay, all right.
So if you go on the new tab, if you go to, the school district
Yeah,
homepage, then you go to
I mean, I have
Oh.
books downstairs.
board,
Frankly, some of them I can reread.
Yeah.
I enjoyed them so much.
Thank you.
and then open up the agenda.
Okay, sure, all right.
There she is.
Have you got it now?
Not both.
No,
I'll just- I read it all, but I can get one or the other, but not both.
What do you mean one or the other? Uh-oh, we lost you.
Oh, no.
Janie
Caldwell
just closed down her,
because I got two books in the back of my car right now that I've read. And they're my,
Maybe next time just bring your agenda.
but so, but I could drive right back there now. Put 'em in.
Yes, sir.
I will.
I don't know if you need to text Janie and let her know that she just logged off. She was trying to see where she could get this.
There she is, okay.
She's back.
Yeah, I
All right.
can't think that it has both the agenda and the pictures, so.
You can't have them both up at the same time, but you can have both those tabs open, and you can just go from one tab to the other. Just don't hit the X, that's what you did.
He learns quick, doesn't he?
Yeah.
It's time? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, I called this meeting to order, a little late, but sorry about that. Bart, would you help us with the pledge, please?
Please follow me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's don't do that again,
Yeah.
okay? Thanks, Bart. Okay, all of our board members are in attendance, either in person or remotely. We gotta work on that also. And on the addendum today, to our agenda, there's a bid award for bleachers. And,
So what?
a bid award for bleachers.
Oh,
I'm sure bleachers, I'm sure Bart will talk to us about that. Okay, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda with the addenda.
I move that we approve the agenda.
I'll second.
Okay, any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hopefully that was all of them. Hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. The next on the agenda is to approve the minutes, and the minutes are a work session for March 10th this year, a special meeting, RE COVID-19 on March 16th, a regular board meeting on March 17th, and a special meeting on COVID-19 on March 28th. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
This is Jamie, and I would move that we approve, except that the meeting where some of us met remotely was not by phone, but was by this, streaming device. So it probably ought to be recognized that it's that sort of meeting.
I think that meeting, we couldn't get everybody up on Google Meets at that time, and we just did a conference call. One of those, because we've only done a couple Google Meets now, but we can look. Oh, sorry. I don't know if you can hear that, Janie, sorry.
Otherwise, I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, I'll go back and make sure.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, and hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. Next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda, which includes authorizing the payment of claims, approving the supplemental financial information, and approving human relations.
Jim, you're
Human-
muted, so make sure that when you say aye, that you unmute.
Approving the human resources activity. I would take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I have a question. This is Jamie. I was wondering, as I looked at all those expenses, there's obviously some that are different because of the kinds of things we have to do now. So I wondered, are those extra expenses offset by other things, or, are we gonna run into problems financially?
Bart, could you handle that?
Do you have any specific items, Mrs. Gephardt, that you were looking at that we could talk
Well, one of the things was looking at, there's a whole list of things that are from Amazon. Understand why that probably needed to happen, but it just seemed like there's a huge expense there, and I didn't know whether that was part of what individual schools had covered, or, whether there are extra expenses now because of what we need to do.
So, Mrs. Gephardt, I can answer that question for you. Everything that we are doing is still within the budget constraints that the board has adopted. We may have shifted where we are purchasing some of our supplies from, maybe we aren't purchasing from Office Max and we're purchasing from Amazon, but everything is within either the district or the individual school budgets. So we are monitoring those very closely.
Okay, then I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I move
I move that we approve the consent agenda. I'll second.
Okay, no discussion, all those in favor?
aye.
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 Yeah, they're on there. Hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. Next is time for public comment. However, no written comment was received. So we'll move on to curriculum and instruction, school safety. And Sue's first.
We have a couple of early graduates. One that's graduating 2 years early, and it says to attend college, but actually they're planning on working for a year and then attending college. And then one year early, and then two that graduated, finished their work at the end of second try, and just got their paperwork in late.
Okay, all right. Tanya, next on my list.
Hey, I have a question about that early graduation.
Sure.
Well, you show 4 people on there, but you only show a total of 2.
That might just be the spreadsheet then. I believe it's only the two. The 2 work full-time ones shouldn't be there. The ones at Century High School.
Okay, we show 2 at Century, 1 at Okie, 1 at Highland, and then there's...
She just can't add. There's 4 total. There's 4 total. We'll fix the spreadsheet.
Okay. That's all.
Got it. Thanks. Thank you.
How's everybody doing? With this technology. Interesting. IHSAA came out Friday. I think we passed on the information to you guys with the recommendation and then my letter that I sent out to parents, students, and coaches and so forth. We've had really positive, output on that they are sad, but they understand. They understand that the decision had to be made, and they were actually thankful that they can move forward now and get prepared for the fall, hopefully. Optimistic. So if you have any questions about IHSAA recommendations,
This
I
is going
can-
through the May 18th, right?
correct,
So, I know there's some summer stuff gonna be going on, and
correct.
there's stuff, and
So the ADs and I've talked this morning, May 16th is when, the basketball camps start getting together and things like that to do tournaments. We're going to gather information as we go forward on if those tournaments are going to continue, because every district's in a little bit of different circumstance. And, with the governor's proclamation and so forth, we're waiting. And we can make that determination May 15th, because we don't have to really do anything to get ready other than advertise it. And so we were hoping to, wait until that final time to make those decisions, but also understanding that facilities might be limited because our soft closure with the school district and so forth right now. They might be, utilizing the MEC Center if that's available and open and things like that.
okay.
So right now, we're just kind of in the holding stage, but we're definitely preparing.
Okay. Good.
Any other questions with IHSAA?
Not a question here.
So if I understand right, then it's only in effect on May 18th, and then they can, after that, they can use school facilities and things for that, or is that to be determined?
That'll be determined at a later date. Right now, it's just focused on spring sports, and May 18th was the final date for all state competitions.
Okay, so it has nothing to do then with summer camps or tournaments with basketball?
No, they're just waiting, right, and they're just waiting for the governor. Right now, the governor has, the closure up until April 30th, and so we're trying to see where we're going forward as the state.
Okay.
And then NCAA came out with recommendations. If you guys haven't seen that already, that they are not even gonna have to show proof of graduation. They can not have to take the ACT, SAT. They're being very flexible with our seniors, especially going into college. They're not going to get in the way of any athlete going on to college and playing sports. They're going to be very flexible in supporting the schools and knowing the hardships that they're going through right now. They have accepted that they can do pass or no pass grades as well. So those are really good recommendations and information from NCAA. A little late on telling us these things, but definitely in the positive direction for our athletes.
Okay.
All right, moving forward then, without knowing our summer program, I would like to move forward with accepting.
Can we have you mute while Tanya or the other presenters are talking, and then we have a question on mute, please? That'd be great, thank
move forward with allowing each of the high school programs to use the football equipment at their camps. This is assuming that the camps are going on. We're just trying to be prepared if, as if things were going to go back to somewhat normal come June. So we have Pocatello High School, Century High School, and Highland High School information there that we need school board approval on to use that equipment for the summer camps. Any questions? Now you'll have to unmute you if you have a question.
They're all shaking their heads no.
No? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, next is business operations. Bert Reed.
Well, it's nice to say good morning at a board meeting.
I'm with you.
All right, the first item is the Idaho General Fund Revenue Report, and as you can see from the information there for the month of March, which this goes through, we are at a state level $114 million above our projected budget. That's the good news. That's about 4.5% of the overall budget. Moving forward and going forward in the coming months, as you can see on the graph down there, April is the largest singular month in the whole year, fiscal year, and I would anticipate that we're probably going to see a little bit of a drop there come April, primarily from the standpoint of sales tax. As you know, things have changed over the last 4 to 6 weeks, and the sales tax revenue will probably drop off fairly significantly. So we'll watch that really close. The good thing is we have a little bit of a surplus there at the state level, but I'm sure that $114 million will be eaten up a little bit over the coming 3 months. And we still have not heard anything on a larger scale from the governor in regard to any kind of holdback for next year. We do know that we have a 1% in place for this year, but we do not know anything as of yet about next year. So we'll continue to watch that because that will impact every school district in the state of Idaho. The next item is the spreadsheet. It's kind of small a little bit there, but overall, just to highlight a couple of things. One is that we have served nearly 70,000, at this point in time, we have served over 70,000 meals, which is more than we did in the first 12 days of operation than we did all of last year during our summer feeding program. We are doing both a lunch and a breakfast in our our feeding program right now. On average, we are averaging about 3,200 breakfast and lunch combined, so 6,400 if you count that as 2 meals. But that's what we've been doing. We seem to have leveled off the last week or so, somewhere around 3,500 to maybe 3,600 meals. So weather's getting a little bit nicer. I'm sure that will maybe pick up a little bit as time goes on. But our food service program has been working really hard to make sure that we're getting those meals out to the parks. I know this wasn't in the yes.
And while they've been really appreciative of them, they say that they're the same thing pretty much every day, and then they talk to some other people that go to a different part, and they say they got this, and they said, oh, my kids got this, but each park's getting the same thing, like all the time, and so they're wondering why they don't mix it up with parks or something, and I told them to call the food service program, but I don't know, do you have an answer for that?
Yes, I do. So one of the situations that we found ourselves in as we came to emergency school closure is that we had a tremendous amount of food still in our inventory. As you know, we gave some of that to the Idaho Food Bank, which was very helpful for our community there. Most of those items were perishable items, meaning items that don't have a shelf life of longer than a week. That took care of that type of inventory, but we still had a lot of fruit bowls, Pop-Tarts, other things that have a longer shelf life. And what we have been attempting to do is to go through all of our various schools, either at the elementary or secondary level, look at our existing inventory and use that existing inventory so it doesn't go to waste. And so we are picking and pulling from various schools to fill both the lunch and the breakfast meals. One of the questions that we have heard is, why aren't we doing hot meals as we have done in the past? The reason for that is because right now we are preparing about about 3 times as many meals as what we would typically do during our regular summer feed program. Our regular summer feed program, we will do anywhere between about 1,600 to maybe 2,500 meals in total in one day. We're preparing, some days we've prepared 8,000 both breakfast and lunch meals, and it's a challenge to get those meals out to the park with our given staff. We have anywhere from 50 to 70 people working in our food service department, trying to get everything out in the parks by 11:30 in the morning. So once we get past the point of time when we would normally be in school and enter our regular school program, we'll go back to the heated meals, the chicken nuggets and the corn dogs and hamburgers and things of that nature. So right now the meal selection has been a little bit the same, and part of the reason for that is that trying to get the product from the vendors is also a challenge as well. So
what they're saying is they know that's kind of to be expected, but some schools are getting all of one thing and some schools are getting all of another, and they're just wondering why you can't mix them up and so spread them out, like this day give this school this and the next day give another park that. I mean, and the different parks, because like certain parks are getting the same thing every day, but they're not that park gets the same thing, and they're just wondering why they can't mix it up among parks.
So I will, Mrs. Craner, I'll have to check into that a little bit. I hear what you're saying, but to a certain extent, that doesn't make sense that would be happening, because if you've ever been back there in the production stage of what we're doing, all of those meals get put together in bags independently, and we're not sorting, okay, only these bags go to this park and only these bags go to another park. So I hear what you're saying, but I don't know how that could be the case, but I will do some, I'll check into that though.
But the children are getting fed.
Okay.
The children are getting fed a breakfast and a lunch each day that go to the park.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay, carrying on. The one thing that I was going to mention to you, that we don't have this in your information, but it typically would come, but I can share because it falls along the same lines, that our free and reduced percentages are 43.8. So that's the lowest that we've had for quite some time. We were holding around the 44, 45%, but it has seemed to drop off just a little bit more. All right, bids. We've had kind of an interesting bid year, as we could anticipate that some changes would happen. The first one is for asphalt maintenance at various sites, and we really had great vendor participation in this. We had 7 vendors that came out and bid on the asphalt and seal coating. One of them was unresponsive for an error in their bid. But overall, Thompson Paving came in on 3 projects for $19,840, and Imperial Asphalt for the remaining 3 projects for $181,050. And we would recommend that the board would approve those asphalt and seal coating bids for our summer projects. The next one is for gasoline and diesel fuel bid. We have not gone out for 3 years on this bid. When you look at that, what we do is we look at the price at the pump on a given day, and then we have the vendors bid on that specific price on that pump, and then they list a profit margin. And you can see that the profit margin is 0.0035, which is 0.3%, basically, which is we're paying for cost for the fuel with no profit margin for the most part. A lot of the vendors will do this because as they increase their volume, then their price structure goes down to what they pay at the distributor. So Lynch Oil, who has been a vendor with us in the past, is the low bid, and we would recommend that the gas and diesel fuel bid go to Lynch Oil for the coming school year. In your addendum, there also is another bid here for bleachers for Century High School. We opened up bids for bleachers and we did not receive any bids. And so state law allows us to then go out and to procure what we feel is a reasonable market price for a bid on bleachers. This particular one is from M&S Development and Construction. They're the same company that was a subcontractor on the Highland High School Iron Horse Stadium bleachers and the earthwork that was done up there. And so we have a bid for $201,520 for 500-seat aluminum bleachers with a handicap ramp, and these would be a raised bleacher. Also, it would have a press box, which is 8 by 24, I want to say. I think it's 8 by 24. And that falls within, just barely within our $200,000 budget that we have set aside for that. I would also mention that I had some early quotes on bleachers before, and this is actually less expensive than the previous quote that I had before we went out for bid. So we would recommend that the board would approve the bleacher to M&S Development and Construction for $201,520. Any questions in regard to that?
Question, do they have any railings?
Yes, that is a code requirement that is required at both the federal and the state level. So yes, they would.
Okay, because I go to all these other schools and they don't have to.
They would have, yes.
So I don't know if it's old bleachers or what.
Anytime that you have stairs going up, there has to be a rail now for, not for accessibility, but just for safety and security.
Okay, thank you.
You know, the ones that we have at Iron Horse, they would be very similar to the same ones that are at Iron Horse Stadium up there. On the east side, the new aluminum ones, yes.
What's the $28,000 for on the bottom?
The $28,000 is for the concrete work. Those bleachers have to rest on a pad. There's already a cement pad there on the existing bleachers, and so what will happen is those existing bleachers that are on both the east and west side of the field, but the ones we're replacing are on the west side, we will expand the concrete pad. That has to be dug down, compacted, and then under the actual press box, that concrete has to be 12 inches thick, actually. And so that will do the earthwork, the concrete work, and it also includes moving the bleachers that are currently on the west side to the east side of the field, and the bleachers that are on the east side of the field will go to the soccer and softball fields that are existing. So we're just going to move some of our bleachers and then construct the new set of bleachers on the west side there. Okay?
Yep.
All right. 2 more items quickly. Sale of computer lab desks. With the implementation of the 101 Chromebook devices to our students in our district, that will necessitate that our computer labs that are in the individual elementary school classrooms will disappear. Typically, they have 5 or 6 independent computer desks that those computers sit on top of. Those will disappear, but we still have those 3,000 computer desks. Part of those will be used at the secondary level, but largely we have around 3,000 computer desks now that are still in very good shape, almost brand new condition, that we have to either dispose of or find a place for. Well, we don't really have a place for them in our district, and so as we talked about what would be the best solution, if we take them to auction, we're probably not going to get much value for them at auction. We felt that it would be in the best interest of the district and also the community to allow the schools, have the board approve the sale of those individual computer desks at a school level to parents and students within those school boundaries, and to sell them for a set price so that we didn't have one school selling them for $50 and another school selling them for $5, to establish a price at $10 each, and then allow those schools to utilize that money within their school budgets. And so this recommendation is to authorize the sale of those computer desks for $10 each by the individual schools, and then we can get it back into the hands of students that could be using those desks and for their computers. Make sense?
Makes sense.
All right. Lastly, our annual surplus property auction will be scheduled for July 11th as a recommendation. And then whatever does not sell physically at that auction at that time would go to an online auction on July 25th. And that is part of our normal way in which we dispose of obsolete or property that is not needed by the district any longer. All right, thank you.
Yep, thank you. Carl? Employee services?
We'll shake it up a little bit and go to the next microphone here. Just a couple items on my section of the agenda today, and the first one is, of course, our monthly update on what's happening in IC and Infinite Campus and technology. No, we're busy. I don't think it needs to be unsaid. But in Infinite Campus, there's a couple of things we're working on because of what's happening around us. One of them is, of course, our ADA issues. How do we count ADA? And so as we try to report correctly through our IC program, our ICEE, instead of Infinite Campus being IC. I mean, sometimes that gets confusing. But we are, I think, we do have a good solution for that, and Mike has been working with the folks in Infinite Campus and our two directors to make sure our ADA is submitted to the state.
The state didn't waive that?
We still have to report ADA. There's no way around that. And the way that we're going to be reporting ADA, which is kind of ironic, is our ADA probably will go up over these last few weeks, which is, atypical. We have to report ADA. Yes, we have for funding. But, of course, when we had our conversations with the state, they have acknowledged that, yes, you need to report ADA somehow. So there are plans in place to how to report some of these contacts with students and report it as ADA, even though it might be just once a week or twice a week, they're going to still be considered there all week. And so that's just some of the challenges we're having because of the online situation. And like I said, it might be ironic that we have higher ADA for the last few weeks because we're able to count contact with a student maybe twice a week as being there for the entire week. And so, and along with that, we heard a little bit about this earlier about the NCAA and their grading practices or requirements for students and athletes. And I know Sue is in the process of talking with her administrators about how would a pass, no pass issue go over and how would we do that in Infinite Campus. From what we heard yesterday, it's not a big deal to change it from a grade class to a pass, no pass, but they'll be working through IC or Infinite Campus to make that happen. And of course, when it comes to IC, the Idaho State Reporting System, we have to report at the end of the year whether the student passed or not. So these all kind of tie together, ultimately. And kind of on the IC side from at the state level, we've heard for several weeks that they're going to create some templates for us to get waivers for ADA and for minimum hours. And Doug sent an email this morning because he got some information from the state, Julie Oberly and Tim Hill. And from what I can tell from this email, they do have templates developed but have not released them yet. And so we had actually talked about coming to you today with some of these waivers so we can get them to the state. I asked Doug to let's wait and use their templates, and so we'll probably bring it to you next month. So we can waive the ADA if the ADA is actually lower than it has been in the past, because we still are funded on the best 28 weeks. And lo and behold, 27 weeks occurred, the 27th week occurred just before our first emergency closure day on March 17th or 16th. And so we have 27 weeks under our belt. And so we only have to deal with the 28th week. And that 28th week could fall after we got back on the 6th of April, based upon how our ADA is counted. So it's all kind of peculiar how we're working it out this year.
We're gonna win, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, enough on that. Just so you know, budget information is still not available from the state. And so we're kind of in a holding pattern there as well. And any questions or comments about that section? I know it's kind of convoluted and it's kind of probably get more complicated as we go along, but
Just as long as you handle it.
as long as we get there, yeah, in the end. All right. Second thing on my part of the agenda is our insurance and carriers and plan information. We shared a little bit with you last week. Our medical came in at a 3.6% increase. And as I mentioned last Tuesday, our dental would not come in more than 3%. And we got information last night, and I wasn't able to put this in the addendum for anything. But I think based upon our comments, we would not exceed 3%, we're still okay. Because this came from Lockton last night. I don't usually want to read this sort of thing, but I'll read it anyway. As we head closer to the weekend, I want to share an update with you that will hopefully provide some much-needed cheer. Through our negotiations with Delta Dental, Aaron was able to make a case for a 1% concession off the originally proposed 3%. And so this comes as we are informed that the adjusted loss ratio for the school district is sitting at 89.6%. So instead of being at 3%, it's going to be 2%. And as we had our insurance committee meeting a couple of Mondays back, there was a program they called the HOW program. I don't know if you recall that, Mr. Mattson.
Remember.
Health Through Oral Wellness program. They will include that with a 2% renewal. And so we're getting the HOW program, which gives employees and their dependents who might need additional oral care an opportunity to get that oral care without bumping up the twice-a-year cleanings or something like that. They could maybe get 3 or 4 based upon their need, just to keep the oral health better. So,
Charles,
yes.
Jackie, you cut out when you said, on my device, you cut out when you said what it changed the dental from 3% to what?
To 2. Yeah, actually went down 1%, yes.
All right, I didn't hear what that was, so thank you.
Okay. So 2%, and they're going to include that HOW program, which includes additional services for those employees or dependents who might need additional oral wellness visits at no cost to them. And so it exceeds the actual plan design, which is typically 2 cleanings a year. They might be able to get 3 or maybe even 4 based upon their need. And each dentist is going to have that opportunity to go through and determine how that might be best implemented for their patients. So we are recommending that we do continue on our plan, as we talked about a week ago, but the dental would be changed to be 2% plus include that HOW or HOW program through them. Mm-hmm. And of course, vision and life are through within some great guarantees, so there are no increases there. So we will ask for you to approve this on your agenda this afternoon or this morning. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Thank you.
Carl. Brenda? Human Resources.
Good morning. The timing of this may seem a little unusual, but if you recall back in March, we just did a little cleanup of policy 7207 and policy 7208. And it was nothing, it was just cleanup in nature. It wasn't anything of substance as far as the RIF policy. And so we're just asking that you take this to second reading. Any questions? That was easy. Thank you.
So there are actually two, right?
There's
Two
there's
policies.
two
Yep.
of them.
Right, 7207 and 7208.
Yeah.
Correct. One of them is just the administrative certificated, and the other one is not administrative certificated staff.
Let me see it. I was just gonna look that up. I had a question last night about it. Cross-reference to, okay, all right.
Any,
Question.
any questions? Okay, thank you.
This is just cleanup. Okay, Superintendent.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. As you can see, this looks quite a bit different than in years past. As we normally are gearing up for the end of the school year, we have quite a number of meetings that we would normally attend. But because the situation that we're in, you can see a number of those were canceled. And so we'll take a look today at what may not be canceled. It looks like Mr. Orr will have a curriculum committee meeting, and that'll be hosted through a Google Hangouts meet, and that is on Thursday.
Paul and I will be there. Not up there. We'll be in the room.
On the 28th, Instructional Technology Committee, I'm sure Mr. Orr will get some information out to you. We're showing the key communicators on the 29th as tentative, but I think we've canceled that one as well. So on the 29th, those of you that would have attended, please disregard the key communicators meeting. We have District Curriculum Committee meeting, again, set up for May 7th. We'll see how that turns out. We'll let you know more information as we go along if that would be necessary to continue to hold. I'm not sure about local issues, but I'm guessing that would probably be canceled. Showing Mother's Day, do not forget your mothers, on May 10th. And then work session tentatively for May 12th. Again, I don't know if we'll need that one. We'll take a closer look. Negotiations, as you saw in a joint letter through ISBA and the IEA, probably be put off a little bit in terms of the timing, just because we sort through the budget concerns and issues and potential reductions and stimulus money. And as Mr. Reed mentioned, it just gets a little bit complicated. So we may have you meet earlier because we may have some information, or we may stick to that day. I'm not quite sure, but we'll let you know as we get a little bit closer to that time frame.
Might have to check my calendar.
Okay.
See if I'm open.
See if you're available.
Doug Murray's meeting was on there too. Is that canceled or?
I haven't seen anything come through for them. I was actually gonna ask you, Janie.
Did you hear Renee?
I've not seen any messages come through either.
Okay,
Okay.
I'm guessing,
I know all the court is remotely, so.
right.
Yeah, Ms. Wilkes will check on that and be sure to follow up with you. But since all the court systems have been closed or postponed, that one likely will be, but Ms. Wilkes will follow up.
Thank you.
You bet. And then that takes us out to, well, you can see the retirement reception that we would normally have. Mrs. Fisher is working on probably individual recognition, but we do not have a big celebration or a gathering plan. But we will definitely honor those teachers for sure. And then that takes us out to a regular board meeting on the 19th, Memorial Day. It's showing a joint city-county education meeting on the May 26th. We'll let you know more as we get closer to the end of the month of May. But for right now, just keep it on your calendar, I would suggest. And next up are the portions of policies to be waived or suspended. There are 3 policies for you to consider today to waive or suspend. And the first up is 8101, which is attendance of students. And Mr. Smart, I think, already covered part of that for you. As you can see, there's references to daily attendance being taken. And we are asking our teachers to log the contacts that they have with our students. And really, at this point, we're most concerned about any chronic absence issues. So we'll be dealing with those on a weekly basis, pretty much rather than a daily basis. So we would ask you to consider waiving that. Next up is 8201, which is student placement, retention, credits, promotion, and acceleration. A majority of this policy that we would like you to suspend is that middle school promotion. We want to also give our students maximum flexibility, and this would require that they pass their English, math, and science all 3 trimesters. And so we would just ask you to consider waiving that so we can move forward with those students if they might have a little bit of a glitch, we'll say, in this last trimester. Also, for your information, and it was mentioned earlier, Mrs. Pettit is working with her principals to talk about a pass incomplete, pass fail, pass no pass, what those options might look like at the middle school and the high school. And so we may pull you back together once we have collected all that information and be able to talk to you just a little bit more, and we might have a recommendation for you to consider. And so for right now, though, in light of, as we move forward, if you would just consider that middle school promote, or actually the whole policy 8201 with specifics to middle school promotion. And then the graduation requirements, the policy is there for you. Mr. Orr has done a really nice job putting together a memo which details the reason for the suspension of this graduation policy, which would include waiving requirements for ISAT testing, and not just for this year, but for really the next 3 years, because normally the high school students would take those as a sophomore. And so we would ask you to take a look at that. It would be for 3 years. Senior project requirement, he has outlined in number 2 of the memo that the students could write an argumentative research paper, but not required to give an oral presentation. In part 3 here, the state board cannot waive the civics test, but as an alternative, we could look at those students who have passed history 1 and 2, and also government in lieu of the civics test. I think Mr. Orr said there were only about 10 students, or?
About 40 district-wide.
District-wide 40. So we were anticipating about 40 per school, possibly. And so, yeah, so if we could work that with them, if the governor does not exercise his executive power to waive that. Another one that we're actually waiting on too with the governor is the IRI. And so we'll have to continue to follow that and see what we may need to do as an alternative if that doesn't get waived. But I know the state board and the State Department are both aware of it, so that information would get to the governor because the IRI is in statute rather than in state board rules. And so we'll need him to act on that. And then finally, the state board has waived the college entrance exam requirement and working on no-cost options that they could take at a later date. And so that would be all under policy 8203. And so those are the 3 we would ask you to suspend temporarily until, for this group of students, as noted. And that's it for me.
Any questions from the group?
Yes, this is Janie. I had a couple of questions. One is, I know we're looking at what's immediate, but is summer school in consideration at all or not?
I'm going to have Mrs. Pettit come up and talk to you about that. She has met extensively with Mrs. Prescott at New Horizon, who will be the summer school principal.
So summer school for us will be strictly online. Students will be checked out a Chromebook, and we will be utilizing Apex, which is our replacement for our Plato credit recovery, and we're going to be using Apex, and they can sign on and work either from home or we're not planning on having a school open, so it's going to be from home. We will have teachers of record that will meet with the kids every day and keep them on track and keep them moving along through that program.
And my other question is a little bit far out, I don't know exactly where it fits, but I was wondering if our community resource workers are being used at all during this time.
Absolutely. Our community resource workers are delivering packets to students who can't get in to get their packets. They are taking meals to kids. They are checking in with our at-risk families to see how they're doing and getting them some resources as needed. But yeah, they're being used extensively right now.
Super, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's it. Okay, see, now it's time for written comments pertinent to agenda items, and I've not received any, so we'll move forward. Action items. The first item of business is to approve the early graduation requests. Is there a motion? A second?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. The next item of business is to approve the district football helmet and pads for summer camps. Is there a motion?
I move
I
that
move
we
that we
move.
approve the, I move that we approve the helmets and pads for summer program. Is it HEPFIRS?
I'll second that.
Okay, all right. All those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion has passed. The next item of business is to award the bids for asphalt, gas and diesel, and the bleachers we heard today. Is there a motion?
I move that I hereby move that the board approve the below list bids as amended.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. Next item is the sale of computer lab desks at $10 each for supplemental school supply budgets. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the sale of computer desks for $10.
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? All
I
those in,
think that's a great deal.
okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. The next is to grant permission to hold the surplus property auction. Is there a motion?
I move that we approve the surplus property auction.
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. Next item is to approve the insurance carriers and coverages for the 2020-2021 school year as presented. Is there a motion?
I move that insurance carrier, for the 2021 school year, as noted.
You want to second that? I'll second it. Okay, all those in favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay, hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. Next item is to hear on second reading for the adoption of the following policies. Policy 7207 and 7208, reduction in force. Is there a motion?
I move that
Move
we,
that the board hear on second reading of adoption of below listed policies as presented.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Yes.
Hearing none opposed, that motion is passed. Let's see, the final item is to waive/suspend portions of the following board policies. 8101, 8201, that should be 8202, shouldn't it be? No, 8101, okay.
Yeah, and 8201.
8201 and then 8203. Is there a motion?
I move that we suspend temporarily portions of 8201, 8101, 8201, and 8203.
I'll second.
Okay. Guess we're all behind it. All those in favor?
I'm just gonna pick.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, that motion is passed, hearing none opposed. And that concludes this meeting. I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Is there a
I'll second.
all those in favor? Aye.
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 That's done. The motion is passed and we are adjourned. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone.